Hello and Merry Christmas. Thank you for coming to my channel. Thank you for clicking this video. It is a clip, basically a video or a repeat of an amazing conversation I had last night, which was unplanned. It was completely just unscheduled. It just kind of happened. And it was a great conversation. And it's about uh, the homeless and the mentally ill, and particularly in the holidays. It was a conversation with a psychiatric nurse who has a nonprofit in the Boston area called Healing Grounds that assists with the homeless population and the mentally ill on the streets. And I think that's a worthy cause. It's something that no matter if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're a nothing, that you can get behind. And it's something we could all do a better job on in the new year. So the information for the nonprofit will be in the description. And Merry Christmas. I hope everybody is taking time to recharge what the season is about. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. Please also go to Healing Grounds in the description below, and if you can, if you have the wherewithal to donate, that'd be awesome. If not, that's okay too. It's been a rough year for everybody. You're a psych nurse, so
Yes.
and you do inpatient and you've done outpatient. You have your own charity
Yes.
nonprofit, and you
Yes.
work closely with the homeless population around the Boston
I do.
area. One, that's awesome. I think that's great, and it actually is a very timely kind of thing to talk about on Christmas Eve when
Yep.
Mary and Joseph were essentially homeless.
This
right?
is true. This is true. I feel like it's a test. It's a test. I'm out there honestly answering prayers every day. Like I said earlier, I'm not really religious per se. I'm more spiritual. But no doubt in my mind when I'm driving around there, I'm hearing something that's telling me to check in on certain people. So whether that be God or the universe or whatever it is, I'm not sure. But I know I'm guided and directed to help certain people in the community.
That's awesome. That really is. And if you want to share, do you want to share the name of your nonprofit?
It's just Healing Grounds.
Healing Grounds. Okay.
Yep. I have a Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube.
Awesome.
Yeah. So right now it's just Healing Grounds. Eventually my goal is to open up a cafe, and just pretty much have that like safe spot where people can come heal, get good, cheap food, feel welcome, feel understood, seen type of thing. Not trying to do it to get rich because that's not my goal.
Sure.
But that is my eventual goal right now. I'm just in the community and doing outreach that way. I
That's
collect
awesome.
clothes, donations, and kind of just redistribute the clothing back into the community, and just kind of do outreach to anyone that kind of looks like they need a little bit of help. So that's literally what I do. Just kind of that person that's always cheering for them type of thing.
That's
So
great.
So this is just establishing a bill of rights for people who are experiencing homelessness.
Okay.
So what this bill does is just establishes like a bill of rights for them, defining what a person experiencing homelessness is, housing status, like what a park is, public space, things like that. So it says that they're allowed to use public spaces and the same as anyone else without discrimination. It talks about like people being able to give them food, them being able to give other people food. If they're parked and their car is like registered and insured and they're in a public space, that they can't be harassed or discriminated against. Same with medical treatment, which is pretty much like a basic right. But they added that in there. And it pretty much just gives them an opportunity to kind of get back on their feet. Because if we're persecuting them for just being in public space and not having a housing status, it's not fair to them. And it's not anything that they're doing wrong. I mean, statistically speaking, people who are homeless, like 40 to 60% of them actually have a job, and people don't realize that. And they can't afford it. So, yeah, I mean, I work very closely with the homeless population, and even if I do peel them off the streets, get them sober, get them clean, and we find some form of housing that they can afford, they want perfect credit, job references, first, last security, and there's also 100 people also going for that same apartment, so they're not going to win. So unfortunately, society deems them as inhumane and, castrates them and doesn't treat them as real and just kind of ignores them. And that breaks my heart. And so I work with them every single day.
I hate to ask this. I mean, I have done volunteer at the South Bend Center for the Homeless. worked on some rehab stuff. That was in my 20s. I kind of fell away from that. We do like the food store, like the food kitchen, so to speak, every once in a while. But would you say that you said, or I think earlier when we were talking earlier, like about 40 to 60% of the homeless population that you work with have jobs,
Mhm.
and so they're employed. And would you say,
Not with me specifically. That's like statistically speaking.
just statistically, okay? But do
Yeah.
you have regulars? I mean, do you have people that you're constantly working with?
Yeah, so the population that I work with is the most vulnerable. They have mental health issues and usually substance abuse issues as well.
Yeah.
So I'm helping them in the community. I'm no longer inpatient, but I did previously come from inpatient psych. So I do have a lot of experience with that. And yeah, housing is something that we're having a hard time with right now. And like I said, even if they do everything right and they get themselves back, you know, in line and they're getting back on their feet,
Yeah.
we have a hard time passing them off to that next step. So I feel like that's one of the reasons why they continue to fall and end up where they are. There's just not enough out there, not enough resources, not enough help. And yeah.
No, I kind of asked this earlier, but I think you were moving to a different location, so it didn't come through. I know the Trump administration is looking at, and some of the more red states are looking at semi-criminalizing homelessness
Oh God.
and put basically, essentially forced treatment. What are your thoughts on that? I don't know.
Well,
I think it's an awful thing because it violates people's constitutional rights, obviously forcing them to get treatment. But I can see the other side where it says, well, you know, if someone is hopelessly addicted and they can't get the help that they need, then this will force them to get clean and sober, at least for a little bit. Do you think that's a valid argument, or what are your thoughts on that?
so one of the things that I always have to be careful about is we have the ability to section you and take your rights away from you and deem that you are unsafe to either yourself or
Yep.
others, or you're like a failure to thrive. So that is something we don't take lightly. I don't take lightly myself. So if I'm deeming you incompetent, you need to be sectioned. And around here we call it a section, where we section you to the hospital. I
Yeah.
know in different states they call it different things. Um, but if we're sectioning you to the hospital, I'm making sure that you don't have the ability to make these decisions for yourself. And unfortunately, people in the community have a right. They have a right to be an addict. They have a right to use substances. Not that I agree with it, but as a nurse, patients have the right to fall.
Sure.
I have an option to put all four sides of the bed up, and I can't because the law says that you have a right to fall. So it's not even believing in certain things. It's like, we have to tiptoe around laws as well.
Okay.
And that makes it hard. I don't think that we should ever take away anyone's right, and force them into treatment unless they're a risk to themselves or others, or
Yeah.
it's
No.
something that it's like their self-sabotage is so bad that they have no
Yeah.
choice. And that
Yeah.
line is so fine, I can't define that. Like the gray area in that. And that's
It's
why I don't feel like the law could step in on that. And like the way it is now, it is very like Massachusetts rewrote it to be slightly more specific on our the wording for how we can section you. You have to be like they added the word severe risk for harming
okay.
yourself or severe risk. And that's all they did. They tweaked and added one word. And that
Well,
just
like I said, I have experience with that in my family. My great
Mhm.
aunt, we had to forcibly, power of attorney, go to get power of attorney on her and force her into inpatient several times. So I'm familiar with the
And I
process.
mean, unfortunately, there's reasons for that. If they're not eating, they're not sleeping, they're not of sane and right mind, they're not making good decisions for themselves and other people. And we don't want to take your rights away. But if you're someone who's manic and not taking your meds, you're not eating,
Yeah,
you're not sleeping, you are just the same, if not worse, as being completely under the influence.
correct.
So that's where the whole rights thing and it's really hard to take away someone's right. And I want to make sure that when I do that, there is a severe risk for yourself or others in
Oh,
order for me to do.
absolutely.
It's not
Yeah,
something that we inpatient like take very lightly. Like you have a right to use, you have a right to fuck up, you have a right to do whatever you want, as long as it's not like. And that's where I don't understand, because a patient like, so medically, I've been in the nursing field for a long time.
mhm,
A patient has a right to not take their meds, right? If
correct.
someone has AFib, they're not taking a beta blocker, they're not taking their blood thinner, they can kill themselves. That is essentially self-sabotage to the point where they're being like, I don't care about my life anymore. I'm taking it. They have a right to do that. But if someone says, I'm going to hurt myself, we can step in and help them and change that and prevent that. So that's where I struggle because it's very gray.
Yeah.
Because as a nurse, how am I going to help you and educate you where you have a right to fall? You have a right to not take your meds. You have a right to refuse this care, but then you don't have a right to hurt yourself. Or if you say so, it's just so gray. And as
It's a hard
I'm a
job.
healthcare
I come from I come from a family, again, a family of nurses. The great aunt I was referencing, she was a nurse her entire life. All the women in my family have been nurses. My grandma was a nurse in World War II. She
we're
actually outranked my,
constantly advocating for patient
yeah,
and nurse safety and
yes,
what makes sense in that gray area, because
yeah,
like law can only define so much.
oh yeah,
So who fills in that gray area is the nurses with
hmm
their experience and everything, stepping in saying, hey, this is not okay, or this needs to go this way, or that needs to go that way. But it shouldn't always fall on us because that gray area is so gray and it's
sure.
huge.
I really don't know the answer to this one. Would you say most of the discrimination against the homeless is that it's viewed as like they have a personal like weakness or failing or they're addicted? So why do we need to help them anyway? Is that kind of your feel on it, or?
So part of it is there's a stigma associated with it, feeling like as if they're not doing enough for themselves, and if they had done all of these things that they wouldn't be in that situation. So part of it's a stigma, um but the other part is just kind of being uneducated on it.
Mhm.
People don't realize how close we are all to being homeless.
Oh, for
um
sure.
not having a loved one to fall back on, not having
Mhm.
someone to turn around and ask for money. um we're not different. We're all the same.
Mhm.
And like one of my biggest things where I reference it to it for people who are like homeless or addicted in the community is if you drove down the street and someone was bleeding out, you would stop and offer to help them, give them a towel, maybe offer to call 911. But if they're having that mental emergency, we ignore it and we kind of desensitize ourselves to it. But to me, that's the same. Like they're literally bleeding out on the sidewalks from
Yeah.
some from trauma, from something like that. So that's kind of how I look at it. But there is a stigma, and don't get me wrong. Some people, I interact with these people constantly. Some people don't want to change. They're perfectly
Yeah.
fine with where they are. They don't want the help. They're happy, and that's fine. And that's not everyone, though. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But the shelters are full. If they do get a bed, it's gross. Their stuff gets stolen. They have a risk for being sexually assaulted. There's cockroaches, bed bugs, you name it. It's not, the system's not set for anyone to succeed right now.
That's
I
great.
have a
Yeah,
huge,
it's kind of interesting you say
life
that.
experience in my family too. So it's like, I'm built for this. So like,
Yeah,
I'm here for a reason. So.
that's fantastic. It really is. And it's kind of interesting. It's healing grounds. We have a coffee shop here in the town that I live in.
Mhm,
And I don't like this coffee shop is run by the mentally uh, handicapped or disabled
mhm.
from a nonprofit called ADAC.
Yeah, no, it's a nonprofit cafe and it kind of works with the
Yeah,
youth of the community.
yeah.
But they actually age out at like 26.
Oh,
So my nonprofit, they wouldn't age out. And that's one of my things is that like if I had this cafe and I had it open, I could help with those who have suffered from addiction or maybe
sure.
have a criminal record and they need that second chance.
Oh, that's
They
great.
might need the
That's awesome.
experience. So it's like that is something that I want to do,
Mhm.
and be able to just kind of give back that way and just kind of have that like hub where they can come in, they can get the help,
Mhm.
and just kind of have that safe spot to land for a lot of people that don't have that.
Well, and this is the time of year for it. I mean, this is good conversation to have because this is technically what Christmas is supposed to be about, right?
Giving, the season of giving.
The season of giving. Now,
No,
do you get donations? I mean, how does that work out for you?
so actually I collect donations from the community. So like any of my friends, family, or anybody just reaches out to me. I pick them up, kind of sort through them, clean them, and redistribute them to
Wow.
practical things. Any monetary donations, I go ahead and just buy stuff and redistribute that. I buy a lot of like protein bars, waters, hand warmers, socks, gloves, things like that. Men's clothes is something that like large, extra large, like I never have enough. So like I have to buy that stuff. But I do, yeah, I get a lot of donations and help from the community.
And I will point this out in the video because not many people know this. And when I told my significant other, Tiffany, about this, she actually was just kind of like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I learned this at the South End. Women's hygienic products. People do not donate nearly enough of those.
Well, what's worse is female products are twice as much as male products just
Oh
because
yes.
they're male.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
I was just talking about this with my friend the other day. Because she was talking about my eyebrows, and I'm like, just go and get like the, just for men, like beard touch up. And I'm like, it's literally half off compared to like women's, and it's true.
that is true. That is
It's
true.
Yeah.
But
That's true.
it was once. So anybody watching after this, when it goes live, if you're donating to a women's shelter or a homeless shelter or something like that, women's feminine products, hygienic products, every time.
Honestly, anything like, so when I worked on an inpatient psych unit, and we were run by DMH. So we're, funded. But we're only, our funds are so limited. So we're providing food. We're providing all of the things that they need, but it's not enough. Like there's so many things that these people don't have that we can't afford. Like I literally take people from the streets in hospital gowns and Johnny's. Yeah. So they have
Seriously?
nothing. Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah. Yeah. There's nowhere to go. You're not sick enough to be in the hospital. If you're homeless, where are you going to go? So where I worked, it was a crisis unit. And we would take referrals from the community, and yeah. So they would cycle in through us, and they have nothing and nowhere to go. And, you know, the program's funded by insurance, and then, the government helps with some things, but it's not enough for these people. It really isn't.
Now, see, I'll say this as someone who was Republican all my life and conservative and everything else, and healthcare is always one of those big things. I thought Massachusetts had like the most like socialist,
We do.
liberal, healthcare plan in the United States, and it's not even making a dent on any of this.
It is, but there's not enough resources. There's just not enough beds. There's not enough housing. There's just not enough. And we're also one of those sanctuary states. So a lot of people do immigrate to our state. And because we have these resources, and I can honestly say, in this area working psych for so long, we have people come from across the country. Like, where are you from? Montana, Wisconsin. Like, how did you get here? And it's because our state is really well at managing the mental health. No other states in the country help with mental health like we do. Some of the states it's unheard of. They don't have any services at all. We have DMH that manages these patients and pays for them and helps them. States don't have that. They don't even acknowledge mental health. So a lot of people come from across the country to our state because we have good mental health services here that other states don't honor at all. So yeah, we get people from all over the country.
Just for mental health.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
That's crazy.
There's other states, we have what's called, in here, we have the Department of Mental Health that would actually step in and care for them. So you'll get, benefits from the state, Social Security and such, but we have what's called a rep payee, where the money goes to them and they help you manage it, help you pay your bills, or you live in a group home or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And you have people in the community that help manage you and take care of you. Yeah. So we have programs like that in Massachusetts, and they don't have programs like that in the other states.
That's so cool. Yeah, I mean, it's really weird because I feel like in Indiana we have that. But see, I worked in our, my family, my grandfather had a pharmacy, and it was Smucker. It was the pharmacy here in town. Mm-hmm. And my uncle then ran it when my grandfather passed. But I worked there in the soda fountain and on the pharmacy and everything else. And there was a group home. So here they didn't age out. I mean, there was some of the mentally handicapped in the group home that were there. I mean, they loved me. Mm-hmm. I mean, later on when I did Special Olympics, they were there at the Special Olympics thing and remembered me. Mm-hmm. And it was crazy.
You don't age out of a group home. That one specific cafe you don't. The one specific cafe that I was talking about in my territory that they age out of that program, which is what prompted me to open mine. Because those people past 27 need a place to, kind of go.
Sure.
But in group homes and such, you don't age out of that in this state.
Really?
No matter how old you are, you're placed in a group home and you're cared for. When you're a certain age, you'll be, managed by like DDS. If you're another age, if you're higher than 65, you'll be managed by like elder services. So we have a lot of like state agencies that are designed to step in and care for people who can't care for themselves, the most
I'll have to
vulnerable.
look and see what it is in Indiana, because I mean, those guys had to be. I mean, there were some of them that were in their 60s. There was one guy who had Tourette's and a few other problems, and he must have been in his late 50s when I was in high school.
I've seen a lot of people circle through the system and kind of get missed.
Mhm.
And in order, so like I said, our program is, we have a Department of Mental Health, but in order for someone to get referred to that program, they kind of have to cycle in and out of the emergency room for someone to identify like, hey, this is this issue. So I've often had people pop in onto my unit where I've never met them and they're 50 years old. They don't have any services. And I'm like, how are you schizophrenic? You're homeless. You've been like this for this long. Like, how have you gotten under the radar? So it does happen. If they're not presenting, where we can as a community step in and say, hey, you need more services, you need more help. They do unfortunately fall under the radar. Yeah.
Wow.
But we can't find people who don't want to be found or helped. You know what I mean? So it's like, just they have to present to the emergency room so many
Oh
times
no,
for
don't
us
get me
to
wrong.
say, and
Yeah.
trigger that red
So when I
flag
say
that
that,
we're
it's not
looking out.
necessarily a criticism. It's just like the argument against, like, oh, Massachusetts, liberal, socialism, everything else.
Mhm.
And if you're having problems there with this and
Oh,
things
we
fall
have
through the
many
cracks, everything
problems.
else, what's it like in other states that don't have any of those guardrails or anything?
Probably worse. I
Oh,
can
it
only
has to be.
imagine because I've like heard about Washington. I've heard about California and Skid Row and all of that. I mean, we have
Yeah.
that here in Boston. It's called Mass and Cass. It's Mass Ave, and there's a few methadone clinics within like a mile there, and they literally call it Mass and Cass, and it's similar to what they refer to in LA as Skid Row.
Hmm.
And they've done a few things, like they've cleared them out in Massachusetts and literally came with people and told them to leave. I don't necessarily know where they went, but I know that it didn't really change anything. They're still there, and the need is still there. So it didn't really change anything per se, but we are trying. We are very liberal, yes, in this state, absolutely. Massachusetts, like in Boston, they have pretty much safe spots where you can go and use.
Oh,
Um,
really?
oh yeah, yeah. Um, where you can go and use drugs. That way, if you did overdose or you needed help, they can step in and help. Yeah.
Makes sense. I know. Oh, the name
Oh,
escapes
we
me right
also
now.
have like a
Naloxone? Is it
oh yeah, yeah,
Naloxone?
yeah. That not
Yeah.
that reverses it, yeah. But
Yes.
there's also around here, I want to say it's like called Not Alone or something. So like say you're in
Oh,
active addiction and you're using by yourself, you actually call this phone number and they'll stay on the line with you. And then God forbid you don't respond, they actually send emergency services to you. So
wow.
yeah, and yeah, Massachusetts, we have a lot of services like that to help with this. Yeah.
That's interesting. I wonder if that, I mean, I wonder if the data shows like overdose deaths or something like that in Massachusetts are way lower than elsewhere.
Without looking, I don't know that I would say yes. I do know that, unfortunately, we've saved people with Narcan and they go, come out and go ahead and reuse. And we've had to, Narcan the same person 3 times in one night. So I don't know if
Is
those
that
numbers will, yeah,
holy crap?
no,
Really?
yeah, yeah. So I don't know if those numbers will like show that. Um, but just even having that drug available to help people is so important. So they have that available. A lot of people around here are trained. It's readily available everywhere and anywhere publicly. Any public facility, they have it. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, I carry it around in my
Michigan, I
car.
think Michigan has something similar. That's just I just say that because it's close. It's close to Indiana, so I see
Um,
I like
Here in
wrestling.
Mass, you can actually get like I can get it through my own insurance and just ask for Narcan, and they'll just give it to me and bill my insurance for it. So you don't even need a prescription out here just to protect people. And I think they passed something that if you are prescribed like anything like that, an opiate, they do have to give you like a Narcan prescription as well.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of the things that we're trying to
That
do.
seems
Like,
incredibly useful, actually.
well, honestly, being a nurse for so long, I know people. People are like, "Oh, Narcan. Why are we doing that? We're making them become Superman, and they're invincible." But Narcan is used for many other reasons. I've had patients that have had surgeries, and I'm there post-op, and they're in so much pain, and they switch to methadone, and methadone is different. It's stored in your fat. So you slowly overdose. And I know
Oh,
people
yeah.
that have been transitioned to oxycodone to
Yep.
methadone tablets, and they slowly
And they take,
overdose.
yep.
And it's not that they're not abusing drugs, they're not doing anything like that, but it's just processed differently. And I've Narcaned many people in the home or in facilities that their doctor increased their pain meds because they were in pain, but they did overdose. So, I mean, it's needed regardless.
Well, everybody reacts differently to drugs. I mean, that's just
Absolutely.
biology. That's
Oh,
just
I've had patients that were in a nursing home that were yelling at me because they were in so much pain, and they were yelling at me to come give them meds. And I was like, "You're next. I promise I'll be right there." And by the time I went in, they were overdosed, and I had to give them a full Narcan dose IM because their doctor increased their methadone days prior, and it slowly builds up. So it does affect people differently. I know people that can take large amounts of methadone. It doesn't affect them at all. I know people that have taken 10 milligrams 3 times a day, and they've overdosed. So everyone is completely different biochemically.
Oh, of course.
Responds differently.
Yeah.
Try to explain that to somebody when you're like, okay, take these meds for depression. They will help
Yep.
you and make you feel better. And we can't guarantee that.
Well, that was my great aunt. Her lithium levels had to be adjusted every couple of years because it was
that has to be
processed differently.
Just because it's a salt, so it's not like a drug. It's just a salt. So we do have to check that because lithium follows salt because it is a salt. So with your lithium levels, we also have to check your sodium levels because they can be off and one can affect the other.
I actually did not know that. Thank you for sharing.
Lithium is a salt.
I know it was always a constant thing. Like she has to have her lithium levels checked.
Yeah. So we check your lithium levels, but lithium itself is an actual salt. So because it's a salt, when we're giving you lithium, we have to constantly monitor your sodium levels to make sure. And I want to say, don't quote me, it's like an inverse relationship. So if your sodium's too high, it'll like make your lithium drop too low type of thing. So we're constantly having to monitor both.
I seem to recall there was something related to her diet that
it can affect your sodium levels.
Yeah. And there was something she couldn't take because it would cause the lithium not to be biologically available, and it was common. I forget what it was.
Grapefruit is one, and then the other
that's
one
what
is
it,
like
yes, it was grapefruit.
There's another one that's like it's in like cheeses, like very pasture, like taurine or something. I forget. There's like a weird chemical in cheeses.
It's it was like DHA or something. DHA or something like that.
There's something, there's like with certain psych meds, and it'll affect that, and I can't think because I am tired. But my tags are Healing Grounds, and I think I did Lynn for my Instagram and tag my Instagram, Facebook, and then my YouTube is Hood Hippie.
All right, well, Hood Hippie, thank you very much, and have a great Christmas Eve. I appreciate it. You
as well. Go take care of Mary and Joseph,
the homeless.
Gonna be crowning soon.
That is such a nurse thing to say.
I know, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. Have a good night. Thank you.
You as well. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.